Yay, so let's get it started in here. Boop.com here once again. This time around it's just me, Arnapulse, reviewing Shadows over Innistrad Part 2. There have been a lot of new spicy cards released since last time I opened the spoiler and went through my thoughts about the new cards. So, what has been new since the last time? We get a new Soaring. I'm not super hyped on it, but I see the power of it. I could see Black-White Axe control deck coming back. At 6 mana, there is a lot to ask from him to be playable, and I think he's sort of balanced. I think he'll probably see as much play as the new 6 mana Chandra. All abilities are quite okay. He essentially protects himself in a deck with some high costs. He could be a very sweet win condition sometimes around, especially if we can find a cool mid-rangey, more slower black-white Eldrazi deck, so that with the first ability you reveal a giant spaghetti monster from the top of your deck and deal huge amounts of damage. Well, not exact damage, but life loss, but anyway, you get my point. The ultimate is not like super amazing, though it's still sweet. I think it will be one of the hotspots for commanders and highlanders and such, but I think in standard it will be very sweet. It's probably not modern material, but I still like the card. Okay, we get 5 new dual lands, allied colors, which is okay, I suppose. Although, as a player who would want black-green lands for the Elves deck after rotation, I'm a bit disappointed. I still don't get my dual lands, but as a player who actually wants to grind and play a lot of limited with this set to get a lot of cards, I'm fine with a black-red duel, so that together with the Zendikar duel I can play black-red vampires, which is definitely going to be a thing. Right, what they essentially do is that you need a plains and an island, so to get them into play untapped. So this is kind of weird. No, not in play. You have to reveal a plains or an island from your hand, and then they come in to play untapped. Yeah, I'm actually fine with this because the Zendikar lands are basic land types, so yeah, they should work fine with that. Without fetch lands, there will be probably more incentive to play basics, and the number of basics in your deck on average will be much larger, I would say, because previously you could just play a bunch of fetch lands and get whatever you want at any point. But now, yes, okay, we have the pain lands, we have the Zen duels, we have the man lands, but still, I really hope that in the second new Innistrad set we would see the remaining 5. That would just be very logical and very nice to happen, essentially. Okay, Behold the Beyond, 7 mana, discard your hand, search for 3 cards, put them into your hand. I actually could see this to be playable in standard in some control like rampy mid-rangey deck. Discard your hand could be a bit of a drawback. Well, actually gonna be quite a weird thing to happen. Actually, if you're gonna play some not necessarily combo deck, but deck that's gonna cycle through cards very quickly, then this could be pretty fun. Basically with this one card, if you still have at that point a couple cards in your hand, you're not just mulliganing your hand, you get what you want. It's free card, it's triple Diabolic Tutor or Demonic Tutor, which is really sweet. Of course that's a big price, but that's the price you pay to get this kind of cool effect in Standard. Yeah, if there will be some weird combo-ish deck in Standard with Innistrad, then this might be a big part of that deck. Asylum Visitor is definitely one of the cards that you would put into your Vampires deck in Standard. At the base you get a free one for 2 mana, which is okay considering that it's the right creature type, and then you get Madness as well, so you get value this way, and also it gets you to draw cards, and because of Madness and stuff like this you will empty your hand most likely faster than your opponent. So this is probably still worse than something like a Dark Confidence or Dark Tutelage, those sort of cards that we saw played in Vampires before in older Standards. Still, I really like this card. Yes, okay, you will have to really empty your hand. It's not like you lose 1 life and draw a card, or draw a card and lose equal to its converted mana cost. But it's still a very cool card. I really like it. I do like the Tooth Collector as well. Very niche card, but if anything similar to Rally deck will emerge back, because you still have collected companies, then this might be a cool thing. It's not on the level of Marauder, so it's not your cool like 3 mana 3/1 everybody sacrifices a dude, which was probably better, and that card is probably overall better than this one, but I still like it. It's probably one of those cards that might end up in a lot of sideboards for creature decks, against creature decks and so on, because we see this theme of spirits, werewolves, vampires, what else, zombies, humans, and so on. So yeah, so don't throw it away. It's definitely gonna be useful. Deathcap Cultivator. I do like this card. It's close to the level of the Mystic, the Teamer one. Instead of the morph and extra mana, you get the ability to get Death Touch for this guy, which is pretty cool. Manadorix in the past didn't have huge amount of value outside of like charm blocking and ramping you up, sometimes attacking but not for a bunch, and now we're in this new era when Manadorix can sometimes even trade with opposing beefy guy. I really do like this card. Not sure where it would fit in, but if there will be some Eldrazi ramp decks being quite playable, and I think there are pretty good chances of that, then this guy could be pretty cool. It gives you green mana, so it's essentially better in those decks, better than the elf, the Leaf Guild Glider or whatever. In that deck the creature type doesn't matter, but here you could get a Death Touch as a bonus, which is nice. And because you do still have Evolving Vials to put a land into your graveyard, you do have ramp spells, and maybe you can spice it up with some enchantments. So yeah, activating Delirium in the Eldrazi Ram decks shouldn't be that hard. Okay, so in the center on our screen, to the far left and to the far right, we have these new cool cards that might push some extra tribals in this format. So Tvalia's Lieutenant, which can push humans as an archetype. It's similar to that 1-mana cool human we used to have. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. That will pump for each human coming into play, into the battlefield. And this is similar, but 1 mana more, but it can also spread the life when it enters play. So I think it's better in standard. It makes the card a little bit worse in general for different formats, but it's very strong. It's very strong. Although right now I don't see a critical mass of playable humans, though. It's still not the full set. It's like still like less than a half. So there could be a good mass of like playable humans. Silver Fur Partisan, which I really do want to call Silver Purr for some reason. You get a 2/2 Trampler for free, and whenever Wolf or Werewolf you control becomes target of an instant sorcery, put a 2/2 Wolf into play. Let's say that I would be fine if it would just say Werewolf and the creature itself would flash. That's probably too much to ask. The basic stats on this creature are not amazing. I would really prefer it to be something like a free one instead of a 2/2. Then it's also just instant sorceress and not just when it's targeted, because in such creature heavy tribal centric sets there will be some activated abilities and you're missing out. Also it's enchantments and all sort of things and just creatures, etc. I don't know. I think unlike humans, werewolves probably will be a fringe archetype. Last time around in the old Innistrad there were a ton of cards to make the archetype good, but humans actually ended up being more or less playable and werewolves not, even despite Huntmaster and everything else. And don't expect things to change. All I'm saying to folks who really like werewolves and wolves, really try to think a lot and try to invest into all possible pieces and spare parts for werewolf decks, because to make it playable it would probably involve a lot of critical thinking and a lot of tuning and practice. Also keep in mind that you have to play a good instance in your deck. Maybe, well, not Fury Temper, because you probably won't get to activate Madness, but something overall good, which you can cast pretty much at any point. So essentially some burn spells are ideal, because I saw some werewolves that would flip if no spells were cast last turn, so you need to keep that in mind. This red spell next to it, we need to know what it essentially does. So it looks like a fireball type of card. Acts to creature player. It's a sorcery, very typical. Creature would lose indestructible, so relevant with Eldrazi's and similar. And also if it would die it would get exiled. Yeah, it's nice to have this type of card in standard most of the time, and the additional bonuses are kinda nice, although most of the time I prefer that it's uncounterable or something like that. I think most of the time that's the most important benefit of Fireball cards, but I still like it. It's nothing super exciting, but in ramp decks that could be pretty sweet. We don't have Bonfire, instead we got this one, but it's okay. It's okay. Bonfire was bonkers, to be honest. Okay, this blue spill over here returned to their owners and all creatures with toughness less than or equal to the number of violence you control. That requires to be nearly mono blue. I'm not sure I like that. So probably not for standard, I expect, at least so far. But there is a mono blue turn stack in modern with extra turns and all the cycling and cantripping and stuff. So yeah, this could be a good option in that deck. For mana instants, essentially bounce all their creatures. Not the worst. Not the worst. Some in the right deck better than Hibernation because it's so flexible, much more flexible than Hibernation. Maybe it will end up just as a sideboard card, but I like the card. It will be played in standard and modern. Probably people will try it out in modern first in the turn deck, but we shall see. Right now I don't see a playable mono blue deck. On the other hand, zombies and vamps are definitely happening. You get a cool 2/1 1-drop vampire that actually does a lot. On top of that, it doesn't really have drawbacks, it just has benefits. It's insane, and it's not legendary like Surgo, so that's bonkers. Definitely a 4-off in the most of the vampire builds, because in this set they're really tempo, they're really like a slide, just smash face as fast as possible and get a lot of tempo. Traverse the Ulvenwald or Ulvenwald. Insane card. It will be a multi-format star. First, if you don't get Delirium, for 1 mana you get a basic land to hand, which is okay. Later in the game, instead of just a blank ramp spell, it becomes absurd. You get to search for a creature or land, any creature or any land, into your hand, not on top of your deck. This is absurd. Legacy players will definitely understand the power of this card, because in decks like lands with Life from the Loam, some dredging, etc., some cycling and so on, activating Delirium is going to be pretty easy. It will be something that will be on the power level between Crop Rotation and Living Wish. You wouldn't have to sacrifice a land as an additional cost. Yes, it's sorcery instead of an instant, unlike on Crop Rotation. But especially if you're splashing white in your land's legacy deck, you get to search for Knight of Reliquary or something else, some hate bear. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Definitely a cool staple in a lot of Highlander Commander decks. Potentially a modern staple, because in decks like Red Green Scapeshifts, or even in Brintolite Scapeshifts, okay, you don't get a land into play, but the ability to search for a Primeval Titan could be very nice. Okay, maybe Scapeshifts Valakut decks are not the best example, but in some Dredge slash Reanimator decks in Modern, this could be also a very great card. Moving on, Dark Breath Colossus in the middle here. Insane card. It looks like zombies will be a very annoying deck to play against. Just so many things going on. This is absurd. Okay, it's just 3 mana 2/2 as the baseline, but it gets a bunch of counters for each zombie in your graveyard, and with each zombie spell like you play up next after him, you get a 2/2 token, which is also a zombie. It's absurd. The amount of value of this card is just sick. If not my leveling for vampires and affinity for tempo decks, I wouldn't really mind to build a zombie deck in standard. Okay, let's see exactly what this one does. 5 mana instance, counter spell, investigate 3 times. The problem I have with this card is that with the investigate tokens, for each of them you would have to pay 2 mana to draw a card. Still, if there will be a decent control deck in standard, I think they would play at least one copy of this, because yes, it costs a lot, but it's unconditional counter spell that later in the game draws you cards, and those tokens are not essentially creatures, so your opponent won't be able like mass removal them away. So it's okay. Not amazing card, but decent value. It's not cryptic command, it's not like Ojote's command kind of level, but it's still nice. Then we see a lot of angels and overcosted spirits which I don't think will make a huge impact. We see some 1/2 drops, good cards for a bunch of other tribal decks. So pretty much almost any tribal will be okay in standard because of this set. Some will be better than others, but each deck will be okay, which means that if somebody can come up with a good flexible mid-range deck at the start of the standard in this new standard season, they would have a huge advantage because of people probably experimenting with some aggro decks which look in a way obvious. What else we got which will have a big impact? Yeah, Vessel of Volatility, another ritual, which is nice. I'm not sure where it would fit in. I don't see Combat X in standard yet. I don't see be it like insanely useful in Modern just yet, because it's an enchantment, it's not a spell. It doesn't get discounted through Goblin Electromancer and stuff like this. But because of through the bridge decks, etc., I won't be surprised if it will find some usage. That's for sure. Not super excited about this Merciless Resolve. Alta's Reap costs just 2 mana. Here you pay 1 more. Okay, you have an option of sacrificing a land. I'm not sure, like it could end up being secretly a very playable card, but not that excited about it just yet. Among multicolors and artifacts, we didn't get anything absurd. Well, let's say the rare, it's an artifact that costs just 2, so I'm obliged to check it out. Enter tapped, costs 2. Tap, choose a card in your graveyard. Add 1 mana of that card's color to your mana pool. So this is, yeah, this seems okay-ish. The problem I have with it is that you don't have fetch lands, so it will be a bit hard to make it a color fix. It will be definitely a very good ramp spell, but not a very great turn 2 play. So in order to make it viable, you would have to blow up like Evolving Wilds or cast it 1 mana tutor from green, or on turn 3 I don't know, cast 2 mana ramp spell and then use this to get 2 mana that turn, cast another tutor ramp spell or something like this. I don't know, clunky. I like to see that kind of card in standard, but it is somewhat tricky and confusing. Well, not so much confusing as bugging me a little bit. This is an interesting card. 2 mana enchantment. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal damage, you get to investigate. Some people might get really excited about this card, and I think it's good, but don't overrate it. You don't get to outright draw a card. With that clue, you would still have to pay 2 mana to draw a card. Then it doesn't trigger for each of your creatures, so with attack with a lot of creatures, you don't get to draw a bunch of cards, it's just 1. I like the second ability, of course, to get more card advantage and some life. It's okay. I like this card, but don't think it's that ridiculous. I think it might find place in standard, but it will require a lot of very creative deck building from somebody to break that card and make it really worth playing, because it does require a lot of mana and a lot of things going right. Epiphany at the Drown Yard, it's not great. People compare it to Factor Fiction, but it's not. It's significantly worse. In some ramp decks like blue-green Eldrazi ramp, this might find some usage. I won't be surprised. But even in that deck, I don't think it's that insane. If somebody can find a good graveyard based deck with a lot of value like Dredger, something controlish midranger that needs to fill its graveyard and would have a lot of mana and a lot of interactive capacities, then yeah, sure, but it's a weird card, so not really that excited about it. Okay, 2 mana blue sorcery with Madness for X and double blue. You gain control of a small creature, and with Madness you get to gain control of a creature with toughness X or less. Okay, and the way that Madness works, if you can discard something at instant speed, then you get to cast this at for Madness at instant speed. That's the way I remember it, even though the actual card is sorcery. So for example, if you had a creature that would benefit from discarding a card, you could do that at any time. And if you say you have a creature with madness, you get to play that card for madness at any point at instant speed. So the same goes here. Mind control effects are busted, and it's pretty tricky that it's toughness, not power. I would prefer to be power, but then I guess it will be too busted of a card, especially with this madness. I'm not sure what's better. Exort Influence was insane because of the fetch lands and so on, but now playing 3 colors would be a liability already, if not 4. So this is basically coming in place of Exort Influence. There won't be Siege Rhinos to steal, but I think this card is bananas. It's not absurd as it seems just yet, but it might. It's very well might become really absurd. This is somewhat of a glorious anthem, enchantment for 1 and double white. Non-tokens get +1/1 and vigilance. So this probably would coming into the humans deck, and it seems like humans gonna be a thing because they're the default creature white deck that can spam the board. So yeah, humans are a thing, and because of Zygarde, I think they're probably gonna be green-white, then blue-white. Like in old Innistrad, there was green-white humans build, but I think the most successful version was blue-white. But yeah, humans are probably going to be a thing in standard. I think that's mostly it as for now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time in another part of spoilers discussion for Shadows over Innistrad. Goodbye, folks.